Grace Johnson had long accepted her place in the shadows. While the world raced past in fine suits and polished shoes, she walked quietly, pushing her mop bucket down glittering halls she could never afford to rent, let alone own. She was 52 years old, with hands worn by years of labor and a back that ached with every bend. Yet her spirit was strong, her faith unbroken. To the world, she was just a cleaning lady, but what they didn't see was a woman who had survived storms that would have sunk most. Grace had grown up in the Deep South, the youngest daughter of a single mother who worked double shifts as a nurse's aide. Money was always short, and childhood was brief. Grace learned early that responsibility came before play. She married young, had 3 children, and lost her husband to a construction accident before she was 30. From that day on, she raised her kids alone, scrubbing floors and taking whatever work she could find to keep food on the table. Life had not been kind, but it had made her observant. She learned to read faces the way some people read books. She could see when a neighbor was hiding pain, when a child was lying about being hungry, or when her mother was getting sick long before the doctors admitted it. That gift, if you could call it that, had come too late to save her mama. But maybe, just maybe, it would save someone else one day. Grace's shift always began when the office lights dimmed and the building emptied. She would swipe her ID card, push her cart inside, and start her silent patrol. The floors gleamed under her mop. The trash bins filled with paper cups and crumpled memos told her stories of hurried lunches and late nights. But there was one office that never seemed to rest. Michael Carter's. The billionaire CEO, founder of Carter Global Enterprises, a man who had built an empire from nothing. His name carried weight, his face appeared on magazine covers, and his fortune was discussed like legend. To the world, he was power incarnate. But to Grace, he was just a man who stayed too late, worked too hard, and ignored the warning signs written across his body. Grace, one evening standing at his door, "Mr. Carter, it's past midnight. You still here?" Michael, not looking up from his desk. "Deadlines don't sleep, and neither can I." Grace, "You keep running like that, your body's gonna give out before your company does." Michael chuckles dryly. "Don't worry about me. I've got too much to do to fall apart." But Grace did worry. She noticed how his skin had lost its healthy color, how sometimes he stood too quickly, gripping his desk like the ground beneath him wasn't steady, how his hands trembled when he thought no one was watching. She remembered her mother's lips turning blue before her collapse. She remembered the sweat on her brow, the confusion in her eyes. And every time Grace looked at Michael Carter, she saw echoes of that day. Most people didn't dare speak to the CEO. He was intimidating, commanding, always in a rush. Even his assistants treated him like a storm to be navigated rather than a man to be cared for. But Grace didn't scare easily. Life had already tested her too much for that. Grace to herself, while emptying a bin, "Lord, I see it clear as day, but how do I make him listen when he don't hear nothing but numbers and deadlines?" The building echoed with silence most nights, broken only by the swish of her mop and the distant tapping of Michael's keyboard. Sometimes she hummed hymns under her breath, soft and steady, filling the empty halls with warmth. And sometimes Michael paused, listening without admitting he heard. It was the only comfort he allowed himself. The weeks went by, and the signs worsened. His cough grew deeper, his hands less steady. He saw him massage his chest more often, his jaw clenched with pain he refused to acknowledge. Finally, one night, she couldn't stay silent anymore. Grace firmly, "Mr. Carter, forgive me, but I need to say this. You don't look well. Your lips, your skin, the way you hold yourself, this ain't just stress. Michael, snapping, irritated. Grace, I said I'm fine. You're not a doctor. Please, just do your job. Grace, hurt but steady. Maybe I'm not a doctor, but I know what it looks like when someone's body is crying out. I watched my mama ignore the signs. Buried her because of it. Michael pauses, uncomfortable. That's not me. Grace, that's exactly what she said, sir. Her words hung in the air like smoke. Michael didn't reply. He turned back to his screen, but the tapping of his keys slowed. Grace walked away, her heart heavy, but her eyes sharper than ever. She knew something was coming. Something big. And she was right, because soon Michael Carter's body would betray him in a way no fortune, no empire, no deadline could stop. And when that moment came, when the world's most powerful man was brought to his knees, it wouldn't be his wealth that saved him. It would be the cleaning lady no one ever saw. The weeks dragged on, and with each passing night, Michael Carter's strength seemed to drain further. Grace saw it all. She saw the sweat on his forehead when the office was cool. She saw his fingers trembling when he signed documents worth millions. She saw the way he sat back in his chair, gasping for breath when he thought no one was watching. Everyone else was blinded by his power. But Grace wasn't looking at the empire. She was looking at the man. And the man was crumbling. One Friday evening, the building was quieter than usual. Most of the staff had gone home for the weekend, eager to escape deadlines and demands. But Michael, as always, stayed behind. Grace pushed her cart down the hallway, humming softly to herself. When she reached his office, she froze. Michael was slumped over his desk, his hand pressed firmly against his chest. His face was pale, almost gray, and his breathing came in short, shallow bursts. Grace's heart lurched. Grace, rushing forward, Mr. Carter, Lord have mercy, you don't look good at all. What's happening? Michael, weakly, forcing a smile. It's nothing, Grace. Just pressure. I'll be fine. Grace, shaking her head. No, sir. This ain't fine. You look like my mama did before she collapsed. You're not okay. Michael, grimacing, trying to wave him off. I can't leave. I have a call with investors in 30 minutes. If I walk out now, I lose everything I've built. Grace, firm, almost fierce. And if you stay, you might lose your life. What good's a company if the man running it don't live to see it? Michael, trying to laugh, but the sound broke into a painful cough. He reached for a glass of water, but his hand shook so badly he spilled it across his papers. His pride, so strong, so immovable, was cracking. Grace grabbed his phone from the desk. Michael, weakly, panicked. Grace, what are you doing? Don't you dare call anyone. Grace, dialing 911, her voice steady. I'm doing what needs to be done. You may sign the paychecks here, but you don't sign your fate. Not tonight. Michael trying to stand, then stumbling. Grace, stop. I can't. People can't see me like this. Grace, catching his arm, firm. Better they see you in a hospital bed than in a casket. The dispatcher answered, and Grace explained in a rush what was happening. By the time she hung up, Michael had sunk back into his chair, clutching his chest, sweat rolling down his temple. For the first time in his powerful, restless, demanding life, Michael Carter broke down. Not in front of investors, not in front of cameras, but in front of the one person who had seen through his pride. And as tears slid down his face, He realized his billions hadn't saved him. His empire hadn't saved him. It was the cleaning lady no one ever saw. Recovery is a strange thing. For some, it's just about the body healing. But for Michael Carter, it became something more. It was a rebirth of the soul. The billionaire CEO, who once thought himself invincible, now lay in a hospital bed with wires attached to his chest and nurses checking his vitals every hour. He had always been the one in control, the man who commanded boardrooms and made the world bend to his will. But here, stripped of power, he was just another man fighting for breath. And through it all, Grace never left.